Zoro breaks King's mask with an attack called Ultra Tiger Hunt, and we see part of King's face. So we got the 127 spoilers, and this chapter is pretty hyped, just like the last couple that we got, and it seems like we might be getting some insight into what's going to happen at the end of this arc, or at least at the end of the Kaido versus Luffy fight. So let's get into it. The title of the chapter is Danger Beyond Imagination. Luffy asks Yamato to help Momonosuke. Yamato understands Luffy's intentions. He wants to fight a one-on-one with Kaido. So yeah, this is what I was talking about in my previous video. This was most likely the outcome here. Momonosuke is obviously not a fighter, at least yet. And while Yamato is pretty powerful and would definitely be a huge help to Luffy taking on Kaido here, this is One Piece, and Luffy almost exclusively takes down the big bads by himself. But also it makes more sense for Yamato to get Momonosuke out of there and to help in any other way that she possibly can, like with the alliance after she theoretically helps Momonosuke and evacuates him. And speaking of Momonosuke, the last time we saw him in the previous chapters, like right after he bit Kaido, and considering that we don't hear anything about it in these spoilers, I don't think he's reverted back to his human form yet, and that's going to be like kind of a big reveal because it's implied that he looks like Odin. But I'm assuming that he's going to have to revert to his human form if Yamato is in fact going to help him, because I'm not really sure what Yamato is going to be able to do with a gigantic dragon. And then once Yamato's out of there, I guess this is like the beginning of the end. Like this is going to be Luffy versus Kaido, the final round. I don't think there's going to be any more like intermissions or Luffy getting knocked out and needing to recover, or even the same for Kaido. Yamato says that dragons don't fly. They run through the sky, grabbing the clouds they create. These clouds are called flame clouds. So we pretty much knew this coming in. I guess it was first implied in Punk Hazard when we saw Momonosuke using these flame clouds to like get him and Luffy out of that garbage dump I think they were in. And then once we got deep into Wano, I think Yamato may have even explained this earlier. It was around the time when Kaido had lifted Onigashima with his flame cloud ability. We see rocks falling from Onigashima. Yamato believes that Kaido's power is weakening and that his flame clouds are unstable. Momonosuke must create his flame clouds to hold Onigashima and prevent it from falling on the capital of flowers. Okay, so like I said, I think this might be giving us some insight into what's going to happen at the end of this fight. So it's being established that Kaido's power is weakening, which is kind of nice to hear because he's been fighting for like a year now, and he's fought most of the strongest people that are here, and he's just been collecting W's. But at the same time, he's been collecting a lot of damage, so it's nice to see that it's actually doing something to him. And obviously at the same time he's holding up, you know, Onigashima with his abilities while doing all of this at the same time. And this was always like a big ticking clock to begin with. Oda does this from time to time with his arcs. This is like Wano's version of the birdcage, I guess. So we knew that this was going to play a big part in the finale of this arc. That being said, there's a lot of interest in how this was going to be resolved. I thought at first maybe Luffy would have unlocked his Devil Fruit awakening, and then at the last moment, like he turns all of Onigashima into rubber and then it like bounces off of the ground instead of destroying everything. That would have been really cool, but now it seems like Momonosuke is absolutely going to be the one who saves everyone from Onigashima crushing them. And that makes more sense narrative-wise than Luffy saving everyone from Onigashima, because Momonosuke is going to become the new Shogun of Wano, and instead of just being a descendant of Odin, this will solidify him in the eyes of like the people of Wano to be their new ruler. Like, oh wow, he saved all of us from getting crushed by Onigashima. So I'm thinking that like once Luffy delivers the coup de grace to Kaido, whatever it is, the final blow that knocks him out, once he's unconscious, I assume his flame clouds will like dissipate and it will cause Onigashima to fall, and then that's going to be like the big moment where Momonosuke needs to save everyone by using his own flame clouds. Zoro versus King. King transforms and begins attacking both enemies and allies. So it doesn't say it here, but I saw some previous spoilers. Like I think maybe one of his arms just transformed or something. I don't think he's completely going into his hybrid form. Zoro breaks King's mask with an attack called Ultra Tiger Hunt, and we see part of King's face. All right, this is awesome. I think Zoro used this against the dragon on Punk Hazard, and I think he also used it against Fujitora in the Stampede movie. And judging from the sketch provided of what is on the page, it seems like he took off part of like King's horn that's coming out of the side of his head and the top part of his mask. And it's really hard to make out exactly like what's under the mask. I don't know if that's like hair, but regardless, we can't really like see his face yet. So I wouldn't expect to get like a king reveal yet in this chapter. But considering that this happened, I'm assuming that, you know, we are for sure going to get like a face reveal of King eventually, considering the build up that he's had in this arc, mainly like what his race is. It's implied by Queen at least that King's race might be called like Lunarian, because when he sees Sanji create fire, he says, "Does a human burn like that? I know you ain't a Lunarian." And we've seen that King can create fire. And it was also said that they lived on top of the Red Line, which is super interesting because we know that like on top of the Red Line, there's pretty much only Mary Joie, as far as we know. But also him possibly being a Lunarian ties into the greater narrative of the series, with the possibility of like beings coming down from the moon and they eventually become the Celestial Dragons. But we haven't seen any of the Celestial Dragons create fire yet. So still a lot of questions revolving this character and just pretty much everything. But I expect us to get at least an explanation of who King is. Not sure if like the Lunarian and all that stuff's going to be revealed, because it seems like that's probably information that's going to happen towards the end of the series maybe. King takes Zoro out of the castle, who almost falls off the island. Zoro says, "At least let me die with a sword or I won't forgive you." And King says, "I won't forgive you either." So I'm just so on board with this. I've been looking forward to King versus Zoro for the longest time. So I'm pretty content now that it's actually happening, and it seems like it's, you know, pretty good so far. I mean, we're only just getting our feet wet with it, but I expect this to probably be Zoro's most epic fight in the series up until this point. I mean, why not? Yes, we've already seen Zoro go all out against Kaido, but you know, there's still some stuff I'm sure he hasn't shown us yet that he's going to pull off against King. And thankfully there's no break next week, so we're just going to be cruising along right into the next chapter, which is always great. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the spoilers. No word on Orochi, who was like the big cliffhanger at the end of the previous chapter, and no word on Sanji versus Queen. It seemed like there was like this juxtaposition between Zoro and Sanji taking on King and Queen, but maybe they're gonna like break up and go their separate ways, which is fine, but I would have liked the former aspect as well. It's something a little different. But let me know what you think about these spoilers in the comments, guys. What do you think about Kaido versus Luffy and the ending of their fight? Do you think Luffy is going to knock Kaido out and that's going to cause Onigashima to fall, only for Momonosuke to have his defining moment by saving everyone from it falling? And also, what do you think's going on with Zoro and King? Who do you think King is? What do you think the significance of his race is? Do you think they are the Lunarians and they come from the moon? Let me know. And if you liked the video, guys, please give it a like and please subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day. I'll see you in the next one.